Hello, 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 and welcome to WDGS on your Facebook as well as your YouTube page. This is your girl Frida. I am so excited. I am here, your host, to bring you the most. You know, today is Fabulous Friday, and we have done some shifting and changing and moving some things. So now we are going to launch from my mentor page on Friday. Isn't Friday fabulous? Don't you just be excited to enjoy the weekend, especially those who are off for the weekend? I know kids are glad that it's Friday so they don't be in school. So, Friday is a very fabulous day, fabulous day. They even have a day called Good Friday. And I know that was during the time of the resurrection because there's something about Friday that's so good. It's so fabulous. But anyway, I just want to get on into today's message. And I am excited because you know why? This message is still moving into expectations for preparation. Oh, I hope you are still in the expectation mode. I know I am. I tell you, I've been so excited. I've been making preparations for expectations in 2021. I'm expecting a lot of things, and this is still the early part of the year. But I am just so utterly excited. I'm excited, and I'm excited. But today, before I get started, I want to greet each and every one of you that tunes in, each and every one of you who offer me support and encouraging words, as well as making your donations. I'm always grateful. I'm honored and I am humbled by your impartation to WDGS. We are making moves that matter. That's our slogan here at WDGS. We're always making moves that matter. And whenever I come before you live, guess what? I'm making a move that matters to you and to me because I'm so delighted in every opportunity that I have to come before you. And I appreciate you. I do. So just know that always you are appreciated. Whether you tune in now and I see your name pop up, or whether you tune in later, just know that each and every one of you, I am always thankful for. On my Facebook platform, my YouTube, my Twitter, and my Instagram. Please make sure you share something if it's encouraging to you, especially. And if it's something you don't need, share it with someone who you may think it can help make a difference in their lives. Because we all know that sharing is also caring. And today's message is, I tell you, I got up this morning and when, it was put in my spirit. And I deal a lot from my spirit because my spirit is the only thing and the only part of me that I believe from my belief system, that I will carry with me throughout eternity. And so everything else that comes and goes in our lives is temporal, is not permanent. The only thing I believe that's permanent is our spirit and our soul. It is everlasting. So today what we're going to talk about is 3 gateways. We're going to talk about 3 gateways. I'm not going to be before you. I don't plan. Let me throw that word in there. I don't plan to be before you too long today because I want you to enjoy some of this fabulous weather if you're not already enjoying it. And if you do, I totally understand. But what we're going to talk about today is 3 gateways. How many of you understand that in a gateway is similar to a doorway? Because in a gateway, there's an open and a close, just like a door. Most times, if there's a door in a place, that door opens and closes. So, gateways tend to do the same thing. The only difference between the gateway and the doorway is this. Gateways are generally larger than doorways. And so because the gateway is larger, That's why I want to use the word gateways instead of doorways. In the 3 gateways to our lives, I want to talk a little bit about, because those gateways, they can either heal you or hurt you. They can bless you or break you. They can bring joy or they can bring pain. Now, ironically, these 3 gateways are connected to who you are. And before I share those 3 gateways with you, I want to say this, and I hope you just feed this and let it resonate into your attitude, your mindset. I want you to understand that you can choose your attitude. You can also know the importance of your attitude. That's good to know. You must investigate. I say that's when you need to be nosy, to know the importance of an attitude. An attitude is very important, people. Whether you may have really just sat down and thought about this, your attitude is very important to your lifestyle. And also, your attitude, you have to understand, however your attitude may be, whether we want to or not, we must take responsibility. You know, if we don't choose to take responsibility for our attitude, you know, that's a word they use. They call sowing and reaping and karma, going around, coming around. And all these things are generated by our actions from our attitude. So now let's get back into the 3 gateways. The 3 gateways that I want to mention today, and there are several, but I want to concentrate on these 3 right quick, is the eyes, the ears, and the mouth. These are gateways into our bodies. They are gateways. They are portals. Things come out and things enter, or things go before. Now with our eyes, we have teardrops that come out. Water is generated. And then, but the things that go in is what a lot of times we look at and we think about and we internalize in our mind these things because what we saw. For example, I went to the mall yesterday. I very seldom go. But there was something that I was looking for online. And they said the only way I could obtain it, they could not ship it, but I could obtain it at the store. So I jumps in my car and get myself together and get to the mall. And of course, they did not have it. But while I was there, has this ever happened to you? Ask yourself. You leave home to go do one thing, but your eyes start seeing other things. And then you start picking up and purchasing things you really don't need. And sometimes you bring it home and you have to think about where you want to place it, or if you want to swap out something and replace it with what you just purchased. Now, I did good yesterday, though. I didn't purchase a thing. They didn't have what I went to get. So you know what I did? I walked back out the store, got in my car, and came back home. And when I got home, I pat my own self on the back. Sometimes you got to pat yourself on the back when you make a good decision. Now, in these 3 gateways, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth, this is where I came to this message because I've been taking a self-course on TV. There's a course channel where you can take courses to learn different things. And one of the things I've been engaged into building myself up is in the Bible. So I've been listening to John Perry, and he's an archaeologist. He also has movies, and he has ventured across the world looking up artifacts to validate the things that we have written and read in the Bible. I'm always intrigued by history. But one of the things that was most inciting, what Jean Perry said yesterday, is that he did not see the Bible as a historical book. Get this, his perception is that it's a book of ideas. And it carries ideals to help people change and motivate and mentor in so many different ways. And I was like, very interesting concept. So, in my thinking, so I began to watch something else. And in this, I was watching, I began to ask myself, why is it, or you ask yourself this question, I know I did. Why is it, have you ever asked this question now? Based upon biblical stories, why is it before Jesus we was taught who's our advocate to the Father? Why is it that God came on the scene and talked to people directly? And then the question I said is that God still do that, even though we have an advocate. Have you ever heard from God? A lot of people may ask that question, how do I know when God is talking to me? Have you ever asked that question? See, the reason I sometimes mentor from the word is because we all need a belief system, and we all need a guide that's in our head that lead and guide us to do certain things, to know what to do and what not to do. So anyway, many patriots have proven by experience, knowledge, and research that their success and failure was due to those three gateways. The things they looked upon, the things they allowed to go in their ears, and truly the words that came out of their mouths. Those three gateways are very critical in our success and even in the things where we fail. So that's why I wanted to explore them just a little bit today. But anyway, when I was thinking about this and I said, God, I know I hear you speak to me. So I began to go back and revisit, watching Moses and Abraham when God literally spoke to them. And and I asked myself now, what's different from them than people who say they don't hear God? But I'm going to give you my revelatory interpretation. It was because God could trust them with what he had to say to them. Do you understand that? Some people, God can't trust you when he tells you what to do. I'm saying this is a part of my mentoring now. Because what it tells me is that we have to position ourselves to be able to follow divine instructions. And where do those come from? They come from here. So the mind becomes very critical when we utilize our three gateways, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth. The mind becomes very critical. I got to get close enough for you to get that. The mind becomes very critical when you don't examine who talking in your ear, what you choose to look upon, especially if it's things you do not need, but you want them anyhow because you see it. Things you may not feel like doing, but you see somebody else doing it, and so you feel you should do it too. So oftentimes we really don't look at the severity of the gateways from our eyes, our ears, and our mouth. Now, one thing I want to say about those three gateways, I believe because everyone cannot handle instructions that are divine. Everyone cannot handle them. I thought back right quick, and I'm just going to say this real quick. I thought back when Abraham had to sacrifice his own son, Isaac. Now, although his wife had reached 90-some years old before she had this baby, but even though she reached that age before she conceived, and he birthed a child to his wife, because he had one, but it was not by his wife, and that's what he desired, and that's what she desired. So can you imagine being 90 years old, 90-something, and just conceiving? Imagine the mind and the body going through all kind of changes. I mean, I had a baby young and I went through changes. I can't imagine at 90. But even though they made this decision because it was divine to go ahead and have this child, which was one of their desires. This is something that Sarah, as well as Sarah and Abraham both had asked God for. So we back to some time we ask for stuff, we see stuff, we desire stuff, we want stuff, we hear stuff, we say stuff. So they had to hear, see, and say things that they wanted to occur. Now in this occurrence, just hang with me for one quick minute. Let me make this point. Because I want you to think along with me. If it was you, what would you do? If God, you knew God and you heard the voice of God come to you and say, take this only son by your wife that she waited 90-some years to conceive and birth, and I want you to sacrifice him and place him on an altar for his life to be taken. And this wasn't a grown man. This was a young child. Who would have obeyed God? I'm just asking the question. I don't even know if I could have done it. There are some times people don't realize what I'm saying in your ear. In your ear, you may truly want to hear divine instructions. But can you handle them when you hear them? Now, Abraham had to sacrifice his son by his wife. But although when he heard God say that, according to the movies, you know, if you watch the movies, it was hard for him. It wasn't an easy choice. And he said to God in the movie, he said, haven't I proved to you that I'm faithful? You know, I talk about my philosophy. The world is like a big classroom. We all carry the role of a student or a teacher. But one thing about the classroom is this. We will always receive assignments in the classroom, and we will always be tested on those assignments. So I saw that as an assignment to Abraham, and Abraham had to be tested. But he had to be tested to see if he would follow the instructions that was divinely given to him, even at the expense of losing his son. You want to hear things divinely. But oftentimes what I'm saying, the punchline is, can you handle the instructions? Although there was a ram in the bush, and I believe there's always a ram in the bush. So it's not about whether or not Abraham was going to do it, but he was willing to follow the instructions, even at the expense of something he loved and was dear to him. You know, I want to talk about, you know, right quickly, how we can become stuck, how we can become being caught up in unforgiveness, how we can become being caught up in so much judgmental. You know, we can judge so many things until we have to experience them for ourselves. You know, so I want to appeal to you today in this mentoring about your 3 gateways. Be careful who you let in your ear. Be very careful what you choose to look upon, especially in lust. And that's not talking about a woman always. I mean, that happens, or a man. But we can look upon tangible things and lust for them just because somebody else have them. And you'll find yourself crossing over into what's called covet. And we all know, if you are a God believer, that's against the law. That's against the law of prosperity. You cannot prosper effectively when you obtain it through covet, because you'll find yourself receiving things and that won't make you happy. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed that. You can receive a lot of things and not happy with them. Especially, I believe, if you obtain them through the act of covet. Now, I want to just share with you because, you know, I was raised in a small town. And to a lot of people, you know, places I've traveled, they've never heard of it. I mean, it's not on the map like New York or ATL or, you know, even Macon. You know, sometimes I would go places and tell people, you know, where I was from. They said, where is that? So I used to say, well, do you know Atlanta? This was like 10, 20, 30 years ago. They were like, oh, yes. So, you know, I just said, well, it's just close to Atlanta. But, you know, when you're from a small town, a lot of times in a small city and you're raised, you know, Year in and year out, you see the same people, same thing. It's not like a large city where you can move around and you can kind of, click with people from different backgrounds and different diversities and different cultures. It's kind of like everybody was kind of segregated unless you went to school when school became integrated. So pretty much you kind of just stayed in your circle. And so if everybody in the circle was doing the same thing, I would find myself bored. So I was very excited when I was 6 years old and my grandmother said that I was going to travel by myself to visit my dad for the summer. And I thought, how exciting. So she told me to make sure that you stay awake because when they call the city, you need to be able to get off the bus and they'll be waiting for you. 6 years old. And that's what I did. So you know what I end up doing to stay awake? I start talking to the elderly people because she set me on the front of the bus where it was nothing but elderly people. And I didn't realize at that age how much they enjoy being entertained. So they like company. They like companionship. They like people who they can talk to. So I developed a bond with elderlies at a very young age. And I still love my elderlies. Oh, they so adorable. They so sweet. But anywho, even though I was raised in this small city, I would leave pretty much every summer. If I didn't go visit my dad, I would go visit my mother after I got more into my teenage years and, in New York. But I never kind of stayed in that city through the summer. I can't remember too many summers. I stayed there a few summers, but not too many. So, what ended up happening, a lot of people from where I work, they know me that say I talk a lot. And you know what? I do. But this is the thing I want to tell you about your mouth as part of the gateway. Talking a lot is not a bad thing. At least it haven't been for me. What you're talking about. See, are you using your mouth to be judgmental in a negative way? Because there's good judgment. And there's also negative judgment. There's negative and positive. And then are you using your mouth and your eyes and your ears because you caught up in things you're talking about that's unforgiveness? Are you using these things because you're stuck in the same environment? Let me tell you the blessing from talking a lot. It has blessed me tremendously. One, to even be on this platform. But most importantly, it helped me feed my babies. I got the jobs that I acquired was because of my mouth. I always knew that. There's a young lady known as her, H period, E period, R period. And one of the most fascinating things I like about her is this. She plays instruments. She's very musically inclined. And she's been thrust among celebrities who have went to school and they've learned music. Or they've been in the business for years. But the most interesting and exciting thing about her is that she can pick up, she said, and learn how to play her instruments by ear. And that's why I say to a lot of people, we can't get so caught up in being impressed. I mean, don't get me wrong. Education is wonderful. It's good. But even if you have it and it's not making room for your life to make you successful, then, I put a question mark on your benefits. But here's this young lady. She never went to music school, but she yet is so musically inclined. That's what I mean by negative judgment. We can negatively judge someone because we feel that they may not or may have not went to places to obtain something that made one person successful. But here is this young lady successfully in her music career without going to music school or without going to college. So we can't always judge a book by the cover, as my grandmother used to say. Those are the things we look at. But let's go back when I was talking about my mouth. I started out in retail for 10 years. And I could get customers. I used to do direct sale and retail sales. And customers would come in. And if you engage them sometime, guess what? you get repeated customers. And the more customers you accumulate and the less shrinkage you have, you get promotions. Then for the next 20 years, I ventured into what's called property management. And in that position, I want you all to know we used to get analytic reports. And in those analytic reports, we would get them from Apartment Guide. And we would see just how many phone calls we would have with every week, between every week. Sometime in a month, we would get 3,000 phone calls, 1,000 average a week. And out of that number, at least 10% came in that office face to face. That's a lot of talking. And it's not because you may want to or you feel like. See, this is what I mean. When you look at what a person does, you have to know if that passion makes room for their lives. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed that. You can meet a person that talk a lot, but is their talking benefiting their lives? Let me tell you something about me. I am a social solver, problem solver. I'm a social problem solver. And what that makes me, I'm oriented to try to find ways to help people solve a problem. And if I can't help you, then I want to research who can. So by me being a oriented social solver of problems, then that has opened the door for me to meet some wonderful, wonderful, magnificent people, some celebrities even. And you know, this is the thing about me. I'm always humbled. I'm always humbled because I don't have a college degree. But what I do have is a passion for what I do. So I make no excuses for talking too much. Because see, all my talking, it has opened doors for my life. Honestly, more than people who I know with college degrees. I'm just saying, I hope you grab that. So, but the point of the matter is this. In our gateways, we have to be mindful, not having those body parts. We need our eyes and our ears and our mouth. And the thing is most important is, how are you using them? Are you listening to the proper information? Are you listening to positive judgment, or are you listening to negative judgments? You know, for years, you know, in my hometown, it used to bother me when people say she talk a lot. But then as I began to grow and go and live outside of that city, I came to realize there were a lot of people that would call me to listen that I met on my journey from talking a lot. And not only that, it blessed me to an income level that I'm sure I may have never achieved if I didn't talk a lot. So it's not about using your mouth to talk a lot. It's what you're talking about. And if you're judging someone because they talk a lot, then you know what? If you're not as successful, or if you haven't been as successful, maybe you should start talking more. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But anyway, what I wanted to just really wrap up and say, if you are truly not satisfied with the way your life has been going, you know, you may consider how you guard your gateways. Who do you allow in your gateways? You know, if you got people talking to you, but they're problem solvers, then embrace those people. If you have people in your ear that when you talk to them, all they want to do is get on the bandwagon and speak negative about the people you are already talking about, then guess what? You'll find yourself in the same circle. And that's no way to consider life. You know, life is so beautiful. I'm telling you, I'm in expectations and I'm making preparations. I am not, and I say this a lot, people don't believe me, but I am not impressed with nothing that we all have we're going to depart from on this earth, people. I'm just saying. But what I am impressed with is the spirit of a person. If you're talking, what is coming out of your gateway? Are you saying something positive? Are you saying something beneficial? Are you saying something that's going to help solve a problem that I may have in my life? That's what I'm asking the question. So, be mindful in these 3 gateways today. Go out and have a fun, fabulous Friday. But make sure you understand the importance of guarding your gateway. Because let me conclude with saying our gateways usually, behind the purpose of a gateway, is something we want to protect. Something we want to protect that we have in our possession. Just like behind a door, there's something you want to protect, the reason you have a door that's closed. And so when you want to guard your gateways, make sure that you are mindful of what you see, what you hear, and what you say. Because that's how you can choose the right attitude. That's how you begin to understand and know the importance of your attitude. For those of you who are on Facebook, I have this book right here. And the name of this book, and it's available on YouTube, and you can see me live on Facebook. The name of this book is What Are You? And in this book, I talk about those gateways. I list the 3 that I mentioned today. But you can check this book out through Amazon, and you can explore the other gateways. I tell you, when I began working on my gateways, and I didn't stop talking, but I started making sure what I talk about is just as supportive as to be quiet and don't say anything. Sometimes you have to just learn what the scripture says. Let all things be done in moderation. So now I spend more time talking to God than I do talking to people. I really do. And let me tell you, the more time you spend talking to the divine spirit, the more you will begin, and the more you take the yoke and learn, and that's what I'm doing, the more you will begin to be flooded with answers into your direction. And in the meantime and in between time, because I have all open door policies for you to be able to call me, check me out on my website, WDGS.org, and schedule a session, because I am here to fulfill my purpose. And part of my purpose, I know, is to be problem oriented. So if there's anything I can do to help you through your day in a better way, please reach out, contact us at WDGS. I thank you all for tuning in. Do have a wonderful, fabulous, fun Friday. And as always, may you continue to prosper and be in good health, even as your spirit prosper. And until the next fabulous Friday, do have a great and wonderful, fabulous Friday. Good day.